Hi, my name's Pete, and I'm a human who does behavioral science for a living. What that means is that companies and organizations come to me with their problems, and I come up with ideas on how to solve those problems based in behavioral science and psychology. We call those behavioral interventions or nudges. The problem is there's this new thing called ChatGPT 3. It's a new artificial intelligence from a company called OpenAI, and the thing with ChatGPT 3 is that, well, technically it can do exactly the same thing. You can give ChatGPT 3 your problems, ask it to come up with behavioral solutions to those problems, and it will. So, in order to test how much of a threat ChatGPT 3 is to my, entire career, I've enlisted the help of my friend David Fanner.
Hello, my name is David Fanner. I'm a behavioural science consultant at Ogilvy Consulting, and I'm just really looking forward to this challenge to see, can a human actually be beaten by an AI?
In this video, David has set 3 different behavioural challenges. These are very similar to the kinds of challenges that we might get in our line of work, and what we're going to do is pit ChatGPT 3 against myself. I'm going to come up with 10 different behavioral interventions or nudges for each of these challenges, and so is ChatGPT 3. We're then going to show David these 2 sets of interventions side by side on a single slide without telling him which one is ChatGPT 3 and which one is me, and we're going to see whether he can tell which one is designed by who, and also we're going to see which ones he thinks are better. Alright, let's see how I did. The first one is to do with acquisition. The objective is, how do we increase first-time trial of a direct-to-consumer meal kit subscription service? Think HelloFresh, think Gusto, for example. The challenge is, help me design 10 behavioral interventions to get more new customers to subscribe to a meal kit service such as HelloFresh or Gusto. Okay, so if you haven't seen it before, this is ChatGPT. It's just like a text window. You can ask it questions. It's going to pump out some answers for us using artificial intelligence. So I'm going to go ahead and ask it this challenge. Okay, so the 10 it's come up with are like to do with discounting, use some influencers, partner with local grocery stores, targeted online advertising, hosting in-person events. I quite like that one. That one's a little bit more creative. But most of these are pretty basic, I think. I think these are not very interesting. Now, there's one cool thing that you can do with ChatGPT, and that's ask it to give you a behavioral principle for each suggestion it's offered you. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I asked it, give me a behavioral principle for each of these suggestions, and that's what it's pumping out right now. It's saying offering a discounted free trial can create a sense of urgency because of loss aversion. Social media and influencer marketing is social proof. I agree with both of those. Partnering with local grocery stores could make it more convenient. Convenience is kind of a behavioral science principle, to be honest. Targeted advertising, I'd hardly call that a behavioral principle, but sure. You can tell that most of these are actually pretty good, and in terms of the behavioral science behind them, pretty much on the money. Okay, so you can see the answers I came up with on the screen right now. My answers are in the gray box, B. David won't know which side is mine, A or B, but you guys know at home. I won't go through all of them. You can read them on the screen now if you're really interested in reading all of them. I'll just tell you my favorite one out of this list, and that's probably number 6, ego. So this one is about creating a new kit that is targeted at skilled chefs only, appealing to certain cooks' sense of ego, of wanting to be perceived as a skilled chef themselves. I think that this would, really draw in a whole new audience for these brands. Let's see what David thinks when we ask him. First off, why did you choose this challenge?
I mean, I've worked on this challenge before, but I think it's also a relatively simple challenge in that it's acquisition, and it's nothing like retention, which is a bit more messy. This is literally getting people through the door. So in theory, just first time trial is a simpler challenge.
Makes sense. So these were the 2 sets of nudges that we sent. Do you want to talk about what your criteria was for marking these?
To be honest, really 2 or 3 criteria at max. And the first is, does it work? Is this likely to change behaviour? So is this going to be rooted in some form of behavioural science that we know to be true and to be effective? And secondly, is it creative? Is it lateral? Does it actually solve the problem from a place that isn't so obvious? And thirdly, a criteria I also like to do with clients is sparkle. This is very much, does this shine? Is there something more creative, something that is just quite a cute idea?
So out of A and B, which did you think was better?
Well, I thought B, by a long way, was so much better. When I look at A, it's just very simple stuff. And a lot of this is not really compatible with business logic in the end. For example, I remember something about using supermarkets. The problem is the meal kit companies are terrified of supermarkets, and supermarkets are terrified of the meal kit companies. So any sort of collaboration is not generally something we would approach. On the surface, a really dumb idea. Also, just kind of basic stuff. Like I was thinking that if I had to quickly do some ChatGPT research, but like 5 minutes before a client meeting, I probably wouldn't bring any of these up in my meeting. So it was just quite basic, quite lazy thinking, I thought, in the end. B, though.
Yep.
I felt like a human wrote this. A human with a brain. A human who actually really knew their stuff. And again, I'd say extra points for Sparkle. Like the first one, I really enjoyed. Giving away branded salt and pepper grinders and popular tube stations can encourage people to return the favour. Just really creative and also based on stuff that we know to be true and know works. And it was just, much more fidelity in the thinking. So I'd say sharper thinking overall.
From the way you're describing it, I think I know the answer to this next question, but which do you think was ChatGPT and which do you think was me?
I mean, A feels very much like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And B, I would hope is you.
You're right. Okay. So good. So it's 1-0 to me.
Yes, congrats.
Let's move on to challenge 2. Okay, so let's move on to the second challenge David sent me, and this one is to do with a private sector nudge. The objective is to increase consumer consumption of milk alternatives so that 60% of drinks in a cafe contain milk alternatives instead of milk. The prompt for ChatGPT is going to be, help me design 10 behavioral interventions to get Starbucks customers to choose milk alternatives instead of milk. What a great behavioral challenge. Let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. So ChatGPT is now coming up with the different answers to that prompt I just gave it. Reinforcement it's given as a behavioral science principle. Offering small discount can provide positive reinforcement for customers who choose a milk alternative. That's kind of true. Alternatives more prominent on the menu and in the store can increase their visibility and make them more salient to customers. Super on the nose. Like, I couldn't come up with a better one myself, or can I? Well, we'll find out. Some similar ones to the previous challenge. Social proof: use social media and influencer marketing to show the popularity and satisfaction of milk alternatives. Environmental concern is given as a principle. Highlight the environmental benefits of choosing milk alternatives can appeal to customers who are environmentally conscious and want to make a positive impact. I don't think environmental concern you could really call a behavioral science principle, but the logic behind it is totally sound. Let's see if we can do something better than ChatGPT. Okay, so it's been about another 45 minutes and I've come up with my 10 different nudges to get people to drink more milk alternatives. This time I am also B, so I'm going to be B for the first task and the second task. David does not know this yet. Let's see if he finds out. Again, if you want to read these all, they're on screen right now. I'm not going to go through them. If you had to ask me which one is my favorite, I would have to say enhanced active choice. It's one of my favorite principles in behavioral science. If we train baristas to actively ask if the customer wants cow's milk or plant milk when taking orders, that helps milk alternative sympathizers to close their action intention gap. That's probably my favorite one. That's number 7 on the list. Let's see what David thinks. So what was your thinking behind this challenge?
For me, I chose this one, first of all, because it's private sector. But also because it's potentially quite complex and there's many ways in. So, for example, you can intervene by using a barista as your person to influence. You could intervene by the environment itself. For example, if you just make the alternatives closer so it's easier to reach, that might work.
Yep.
Or we could even influence the customer. So I thought there was 3 different ways in. All were quite complex, and this is also very measurable. We can tell this number, so it's nothing ambiguous with this one.
All right, so this is the 2 sets of nudges. Which one did you like better?
I thought, just from memory here, A was definitely ChatGPT. It just felt, again, much simpler, much more basic, just rudimental thinking. Like, again, I wouldn't walk into a meeting with this. Also just really rational, really system 2. Like variety, offering a wide variety of milk alternatives and cater to different dietary preferences, increase the appeal of the options to a point. But again, we're not going to bring out a whole new type of milk necessarily. If we've already got 4 or 5, adding a 6th or 7th or 8th might just be not very good cognitively. Again, some were not really answering the question. So here, this again was not acquisition, but it was increasing consumption and repeat behavior, potentially offering a loyalty program. Maybe, but that's not the ask. The ask is to switch to this instead. So if it's loyalty, then it's just more of the same. Whereas B, again, felt like a human had done this. We saw like a bit more complex behavioral science principles. So idiosyncratic fit really stood out. Identity priming was just a nice smart one. We know this would be very impactful. Enhanced active choice. I was really glad to see something with baristas in here as well. Training baristas to actively ask if the customer wants cow's milk or plant milk when taking orders. Helps maintain alternatives. This reminds me of when I went to go get a drink somewhere.
Uh-huh.
Someone asked me, do you want that with alcohol or without? And I felt very seen in that moment. So, do you want the psychoactive or not? So, really, B, again, just felt like a human had done this.
Okay, well, you are correct.
Great.
Again, I was B, and ChatGPT was A. Were there any from ChatGPT that you liked?
Let's have a look. I think 3 was not bad. Social influence, talking to baristas. I thought that was, as an approach, smart, but most of them were just quite basic.
Fair enough. Okay, so this third challenge is a little bit more public sector. The challenge that David has set me is to reduce year-on-year instances of students tipping cooking oil down the drain. The challenge and the prompt to ChatGPT help me design 10 behavioral interventions to stop students disposing of cooking oil down their drain. So let's ask ChatGPT and see what it comes up with. So you can see ChatGPT pumping out a few different answers right now. As far as I can tell, they all seem to be very education-based. Well, the AI is identifying this challenge as an educational issue at its heart, which it could well be, but not a lot of other things being suggested here. Let's ask it for some behavioral science principles. Yeah, salience, I agree with. Education, I guess, is a principle. The one that I really like is the convenience one, which is number 7, which is to have a designated container in a convenient location that can reduce the barriers to proper disposal. Yeah, I like that one. Okay, let's see if we can do better than ChatGPT. Okay, so what you can see here are my answers. This time, I'm on the left. I'm answers A. My favorite one this time probably has to be the idea of placing a lid over the sink that has a reminder on it of how to dispose of your oil correctly. I like this idea because it adds friction to the behavior of throwing your oil away in the sink. It slows people down, makes them pause, makes them think about what they're doing, and I think that would have a big effect on people's behavior. Let's see what David thinks. Why did you choose this one?
To be honest, I wanted a public sector one, something which was for good, but I thought also students would be an interesting one. In terms of they're at a particular time in their life where things, maybe changes happen, but also you potentially have more scope to actually intervene with students because especially in their first year, if they're going to be in university housing, potentially we can fiddle more than we would be able to at a top-down level than we would if we were just targeting citizens.
Which one did you think was better?
Again, I think A is a human being. I just really thought that these were much stronger ideas, first and foremost, but they were just more creative and a bit more sparkle to them. So I thought there was some lovely thinking with, for example, using a clear oil container. First of all, the fact that it's a thing in the environment. This is environmental opportunity to do the behaviour and actually a place to put the oil instead of just down the sink or wherever else you put it. But also the fact that it was transparent, I thought was a really nice touch because then this makes it public to other people. Kind of reminds me of these battery collection places we have in the UK where you can go to a shop and you can, outside most shop doors, there's a place you can put your batteries.
Yeah.
But they're clear, so you can see the thousands of other batteries there. It shows that it's a thing that people do. So I thought these were just smart. And again, the placing chemicals in the drain that instantly react with oil, really nice. That's not an idea that I would expect from AI at all. The rhyme is reason, using the catchphrase, people who stink put oil in the sink. I wouldn't have expected an AI to do this either. But overall, I thought these were just much smarter ideas.
Were there any from B that you liked?
But not really. They were, again, just quite basic. Targeted campaigns, make it easy. Not really. None of them were really stand out to me.
Fair enough.
Clear and visible signage. That's probably good for the first week.
Yeah.
But what about you live here, so probably not.
So am I right in thinking that you think A is me?
I think you're A, and I hope you're A, actually.
That is correct. So I'm A. And ChatGPT. So 3 out of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And you've also guessed which one was me. 3 out of 3. And which one was ChatGPT.
Good.
Now, as you can see, ChatGPT 3 is currently no match for an actual trained behavioral scientist like myself. Thank goodness. At the moment, it seems to only be able to generate very uncreative and basic behavioral interventions, and some of them are not even really, proper behavioral science concepts. However, I don't think that ChatGPT 3 is useless when it comes to behavioral science. Instead, I think that behavioral scientists, like myself, should be using ChatGPT 3 to sort of get those obvious ideas out of the way very quickly. Because what ChatGPT 3 is very good at is arriving at those obvious answers in a very short period of time. And really, for every single behavioral science project we do, that is kind of the starting point for designing good interventions. You get all the really obvious, boring stuff out of the way first, and then you build on that afterwards to come up with the more creative solutions. If I draw an analogy to chess, it's kind of like an AI that can play the opening for you. The first 10-15 moves to put you in a fairly comfortable position to play the rest of the game. However, it's not yet good enough to sort of play the rest of the game competently. That's going to lead you to, really get that checkmate, or in this case, design a behavioral intervention that's really going to shift the needle when it comes to human behavior. So that's how I see ChatGPT 3 right now. It's a useful tool for behavioral scientists, but not a complete replacement for them, at least not at the moment. Let me know what you think of ChatGPT 3 in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.